So the 1959 program happened because people were deprived. Young boys were taken. Young boys were being taken, undressed naked, and then taken to the farms to do this. Revolutionaries stood up and then exposed these atrocities, but it didn't add into that, didn't end at that point. It meant that they must stand up and revolt, because that was a form of an injustice. Obabugert and Sibande became the leaders of the time, organizing underground, and did what they had to do. And that ushered in a period of defiance. Women came here to Pretoria, 1976, 1985, but this potato boycott from the farms, the downtrodden, have brought and ushered in our democracy, not just to think, as and when we shape the new dispensation and the kind of constitution we were writing at that time to enshrine, even in its Bill of Rights, the recognition of this thing called rights, that you cannot just trample upon people as if they don't have rights, and that is what actually happened. And the ANC championed that particular struggle. And this is what you are celebrating and commemorating here today. But you are commemorating this in the right place, the University of South Africa. And that is why I start with this long prelude. In summary, it says the struggle continues. And that is what I was talking about. And we must then be reminded of that and not romanticize the fact that we are black and all of that. Otherwise, we'll just become like civil rights organizations, which are very key, but in the United States of America, we are not that. We are dominant in this country. We are a majority. And we must never apologize for who we are, because we have to stand up. Apartheid was not abolished because they wanted to. They had no choice. Apartheid was crumbling, and it was institutionalized. Its laws, and some of the laws are still there, and so on. The power of the people, and I was saying when Prof was speaking here, black power, because the power of the people was overwhelming into the system, such that apartheid regime had to surrender. So there was no turning back. Everybody in the world was not with them, except America and the United Kingdom. Margaret Thatcher and Ronald Reagan and them. But the rest of the world, the United Nations, was against them. So they had to surrender. Here at home, the defiance campaign, and our people now, every corner, every street were mobilized. And that is what is important. And our intellectuals, academia, themselves stood up and then said, no, enough, it is enough. We are counted on the side of the oppressed. So I'm saying that the repressive laws of apartheid were defeated by a people united. And I'm saying the story that inspires us today is that the struggle continues. We do have rights, and then we must protect worker rights and so on. And that is what is important for all of us in this country. So I'm just saying that as I conclude, it is important to note as well the role of the journalist in the struggle for liberation, like Ruth First, who played a very important and a prominent part in terms of exposing the atrocities of apartheid particularly in Bethal. So this commemoration and celebration is very important. This defiance campaign injected radicalism, and it was in this context of this ongoing mass struggle, militancy, and defiance that laid the foundation of the event where we're celebrating today the 64th commemoration of the Bethal 1959 potato boycott. We are commemorating one of the most successful boycotts led by the African National Congress. The ANC did not only lead alone, it was in alliance with the South African trade unions, SACTU, then with SAIC, Indian Congress, with colored people's organizations. This combined front of forces came to be called the Congress Alliance. So the 59 potato boycott was ignited by the brutality, like we said, and abuse of Bethel potato farmers. These acts of brutality and many others were the spark that was needed to initiate the 1959 potato boycott. One of the prominent leaders was Comrade Gertin Sibande, after whom one of the districts in Mpumalanga is named after. Played an important role in organizing and exposing this. And this led to the defiance campaign of women, and so on, the Sharpeville massacre, the boycott of racial sport, and so on, 1976, 1986. We are commemorating not only an event, but a historic milestone that influenced the direction of the struggle for liberation. We are celebrating the militancy and pushback by progressive forces who took head-on the systematic introduction of repressive legislation. The contribution of the 59 potato boycott cannot be underestimated. It planted a seed for laborers to fight for their rights and the establishment of a conducive working environment. The alliance led by the ANC championed the constitution that not only secured these rights, but guaranteed them the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, the basic conditions of employment, labor relations, and many other pieces of legislation have provided non-negotiable rights for workers since the dawn of democracy. Some of the workers' rights include the right to strike, the right to form trade unions, the right to fair labor practices. These rights are buttressed by appropriate resources and tools of trade. They ensure that workers must have safe working conditions and receive the agreed remuneration on agreed date, to mention a few. It is important to state that the labor movement led by COSATU, among others, has achieved a lot for the workers since the dawn of democracy. These hard-fought rights need to be protected and guarded at all material times. The ANC as a disciplined force of the left, the party as the vanguard of the working class, and COSATU as the voice of the workers must continue to work together to protect and advance the gains of the workers. An injury to one is an injury to all. It is more amplified by the recent legislative amendments on the employment equity to ensure parity across race and gender.